History is full of enigmas, but few are as intriguing as the disappearance of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Thousands of years ago, an entire people vanished from the map. Absorbed by time, their traces erased from official records. But did they really disappear? Or did they simply hide where we least expect them? What happened to these tribes? And more importantly, could some people today carry this heritage without even knowing it? The Bible mentions that after the Assyrian conquest, the tribes of the northern kingdom were taken into exile and were never seen again as a unified nation. But there's something strange about this. If the history of an entire people can be erased, what guarantees that the past we know isn't full of hidden gaps? Historical accounts suggest that these tribes may have traveled to unexpected places, crossing continents, influencing cultures, and leaving traces that can still be found. The mystery isn't just in their absence, but in the subtle signs that point to where they went. Imagine for a moment that your own lineage, your genetic heritage, might be connected to this ancient story. It may sound improbable, but new research suggests that the dispersion of the 10 tribes may have been much greater than previously imagined. What if some modern groups, ones we'd never suspect, are actually direct descendants of these vanished Israelites? Peoples living on the other side of the world today might be carrying a secret buried in time, and they may not even realize it. But why does this mystery matter? Because if these tribes truly survived, it means their culture, beliefs, and identity may have intertwined with other nations throughout history. This wouldn't just change what we know about the Israelite diaspora, it could redefine entire identities. The fate of the 10 lost tribes isn't just an archaeological curiosity. It's a key piece in understanding how ancient civilizations shaped the modern world without us even realizing it. And here's something few people consider. If these tribes still exist, what would be the impact of their rediscovery? Would modern nations be prepared for such a revelation? What would happen if undeniable evidence suddenly emerged that certain peoples today are direct descendants of the Israelites from the Northern Kingdom? Could this rewrite political alliances, transform religions, and even change the way we perceive world history? The scriptures mention exile and dispersion many times, but historical records seem to fall silent about what happened afterward. Over the centuries, various theories have emerged. Some suggest that these tribes were assimilated by other cultures and lost their identity, while others point to the possibility that they traveled to distant lands, influencing entire civilizations without the official history acknowledging their legacy. And what if all of this is true? What we know about the past may not be the full picture of reality. History is often told by the victors, while those who lost are erased from the records. But the signs are still there, waiting to be uncovered. Archaeological evidence, genetic discoveries, and ancient traditions from different peoples around the world may hold clues that finally lead us to the whereabouts of the 10 tribes. In this video, we will explore the events that led to the disappearance of the 10 tribes, the historical and genetic evidence suggesting where they might have gone, and the theories connecting their fate to peoples we would never have imagined. You will uncover hidden stories, buried secrets, and surprising revelations that could change the way we view the Bible and human history itself. But before we move forward, tell me, have you ever heard about the 10 lost tribes? Do you believe they may have left descendants who still exist today? Share your theory in the comments. I want to hear your opinion. And of course, if you're curious to unravel this mystery, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss upcoming content. Now get ready, because what you're about to discover may change everything you thought you knew about this ancient enigma. The story of the disappearance of the 10 lost tribes begins long before the Assyrian exile. To understand this enigma, we must go back to the height of the Israelite monarchy, when a single, unified kingdom ruled over all 12 tribes. But this unity would not last forever. What seemed to be a period of glory quickly turned into an era of division and ruin. It all began with King Solomon. His reign was marked by wealth, wisdom, and the construction of the majestic temple in Jerusalem. However, his rule also brought heavy taxes and a system of forced labor that weighed heavily on the people. Despite his legendary wisdom, his political decisions and foreign influences created cracks in the kingdom's unity. The diplomatic marriages he arranged with women from other nations introduced foreign religious influences that led the people away from exclusive worship of the God of Israel. When Solomon died, his son Rehoboam ascended to the throne and inherited a kingdom on the brink of instability. The people, weary of the burdens imposed by his father, pleaded for relief. They wanted a fairer government, lower taxes, and a ruler who would listen to them. But Rehoboam ignored the advice of his wiser counselors, and instead of pacifying the population, responded with even greater severity. He declared that if his father had chastised the people with whips, he would do so with scorpions. That response was the spark that ignited a rebellion. The northern tribes, led by Jeroboam, rejected Rehoboam and formed a new kingdom, the Kingdom of Israel. Meanwhile, Rehoboam retained control over Judah and Benjamin in the south, forming the Kingdom of Judah. The Bible describes this decisive moment in 1 Kings 12:20. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only. The political separation was accompanied by a spiritual divide. The northern kingdom, now under Jeroboam's rule, broke ties with Jerusalem, where the temple stood, and established new centers of worship in Bethel and Dan. To prevent his people from traveling south to worship, Jeroboam erected golden calves and presented them as symbols of the divine presence. This was a fatal mistake. Idolatry weakened the spiritual identity of the people, distancing them from the laws and traditions that had once united them. The new nation was larger in territory and population, but spiritually it was in decline. The succession of kings who ruled Israel was marked by instability, betrayals, and war. None of them succeeded in restoring the covenant with God, and each in their own way plunged the nation deeper into idolatry and corruption. Meanwhile, the southern kingdom, Judah, maintained the Davidic lineage and preserved the temple in Jerusalem as the center of Jewish faith. However, isolated and smaller in territory, it too would face its own challenges. The division between the two kingdoms was not just political, it was spiritual. Israel's departure from the laws and traditions that had once united them became the beginning of its downfall. This division had profound consequences. The northern kingdom, despite its initial power and wealth, became an easy target for neighboring empires. Without strong and stable leadership, its cities were plundered and its population gradually weakened. This weakening would be a crucial factor in what was to come. And here lies a great lesson. Not every nation that begins in glory remains that way forever. The northern kingdom could have prospered, but the lack of unity, corruption, and the pursuit of power over faith led to its downfall. The prophecies had already warned that this separation and abandonment of God would lead to destruction. The northern kingdom was vulnerable, and a powerful enemy was already watching its weaknesses. Without realizing it, the 10 tribes were walking toward a tragic destiny. Political and religious decay paved the way for the moment that would change Israel's history forever. On the horizon, a threat was rising, the growing power of the Assyrian Empire. Israel's rulers attempted to resist, but the Assyrian army was relentless. When they finally struck, the destruction was absolute. The fall of the northern kingdom didn't happen overnight. For decades, Israel lived under the shadow of the Assyrian threat, trying to resist but failing at every turn. The Assyrian Empire was an unstoppable war machine, known for its brutality and its strategy of mass deportation, an effective method for destroying the identity of conquered peoples. When the Assyrians finally struck, Israel never stood a chance. In the year 722 before Christ, after years of conflict and failed alliances, the king of Assyria, Shalmaneser V, laid siege to Israel's capital, Samaria. The siege lasted 3 years. The people resisted as long as they could, but without reinforcements and with resources depleted, Samaria fell. The Bible describes this event clearly in 2 Kings 17-6. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Hala and in Habor, by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. What followed was devastating. In accordance with their domination strategy, the Assyrians deported most of Israel's population to distant lands. Their goal was clear: to dissolve the identity of conquered peoples by scattering them among different nations, stripping them of their roots, culture and faith. This strategy had worked with countless other civilizations, and the Assyrians executed it with precision. The 10 tribes of Israel were taken to unknown lands, far from the promised land. Some were sent to regions of Mesopotamia, others to the mountains of Iran and the cities of the Medes. They never returned as a unified kingdom. Over time, their language, customs, and even their faith began to blend with the peoples around them. But did they truly disappear, or did they simply become invisible to history? That is the great question. Over the centuries, numerous theories have emerged about what happened to the lost tribes. Some believe they were completely assimilated into other cultures and ceased to exist as a distinct people. Others claim that some managed to preserve their identity in secret, spreading across the world in unexpected ways. Regardless of the answer, the disappearance of the 10 tribes was not just a political tragedy. It became one of the greatest mysteries in history. And here's something to think about. The greatest mystery in history is not what we know, but what we have forgotten. The lost tribes may not have vanished. They may have simply been erased from official records, scattered across the world, blending into nations we would never suspect. What makes this enigma even more compelling is that even after centuries, certain groups in different parts of the world maintain traditions, beliefs, and even genetic traces that point to Israelite ancestry. Historical records, archaeological findings, and even genetic research suggest that descendants of the 10 tribes may have survived and influenced entire civilizations without anyone realizing it. The destruction of the Kingdom of Israel was a point of no return, while the Kingdom of Judah survived for a few more centuries before being conquered by the Babylonians. The 10 tribes were never mentioned again as a unified nation. The Bible continues to speak about Judah, but the northern tribes vanished from the narrative. Some prophetic passages hint at a future reunion of the tribes, but their exact whereabouts remain unknown. But what if clues exist that reveal where they went? Throughout history, reports have surfaced of peoples who claim to descend from the lost tribe. Some evidence suggests that they may have traveled far beyond the Middle East, possibly reaching parts of Asia, Europe, and Africa. The theories are surprising and challenge everything we thought we knew about the dispersion of the Israelites. The lingering question is this: if the lost tribes of Israel truly survived, where are they now? Could their influence still be seen in the modern world? And the most intriguing thought of all, could some people today carry this heritage without even knowing it? If the 10 tribes of Israel truly disappeared, why do so many clues still suggest their possible survival? Throughout the centuries, historians, archaeologists, and even explorers have dedicated themselves to this mystery, searching for traces that could reveal their whereabouts. What they found were intriguing pieces of evidence and theories that challenge everything we thought we knew. Some hypotheses suggest that the lost tribes assimilated into other nations of the Middle East, while others point to surprising migrations influencing civilizations in places no one would have imagined. The first hypothesis is the most obvious. The tribes were absorbed by the peoples of the Middle East. When the Assyrians deported the Israelites, they were scattered across various regions of the empire. Some were taken to Mesopotamia, others to Persia, and even to the land of the Medes. Historical records indicate that, over time, these groups lost their original identity and became part of local cultures. This would explain why they were never heard of again as a unified people. But is this explanation enough? There is evidence suggesting that some descendants of the tribes continued practicing Jewish traditions in secret, even centuries after the exile. Certain communities in Iran and Afghanistan claim Israelite ancestry. The Pashtun tribes, for example, maintain customs and beliefs that closely resemble ancient Hebrew traditions. Additionally, some Kurdish groups also claim lineage connected to Israel, but this still does not fully explain the mystery. Another hypothesis proposes something even more astonishing. The lost tribes may have migrated to Asia and influenced other civilizations. There are reports of communities in northern India and China with traditions similar to those of the Israelite people. The Bnei Menashe, a group living in northeastern India, claims to be descended from the tribe of Manasseh. They have preserved ancient customs, such as purity rituals and Sabbath observance, long before they had any contact with modern Judaism. Moreover, researchers have identified similarities between some ancient Chinese traditions and Israelite rituals. Could part of the lost tribes have traveled eastward, establishing hidden colonies along the Silk Road? This might explain why certain Asian legends tell of foreigners from the West who brought distinct customs with them. But perhaps the most intriguing hypothesis is that the lost tribes reached Europe and influenced Celtic and Anglo-Saxon peoples. Some historians suggest that groups of exiled Israelites may have crossed Asia Minor and settled in parts of ancient Europe. Certain words and customs among Celtic tribes bear surprising similarities to Hebrew practices. Additionally, some traditions among ancient Scottish and Irish clans hint at possible connections to Israel. This theory becomes even more fascinating when we examine medieval legends about a lost people who traveled from the Holy Land to the West. Could the Israelites have integrated with Germanic, Scandinavian, or even British peoples? Some scholars argue that they did, pointing to linguistic similarities and even historical records that suggest such a migration. The truth is that, despite these numerous hypotheses, the mystery of the lost tribes remains unresolved. Some evidence indicates that they were absorbed by other peoples, while other clues suggest that their heritage may have spread worldwide in unexpected ways. This leads us to a profound realization. Sometimes history isn't lost. It simply hides where we least expect it. If these tribes truly influence different civilizations, their presence can still be felt in the modern world. But how can we be sure? The answer might lie in something even more astonishing: genetic evidence. Could science finally solve this ancient enigma? For centuries, the search for the 10 lost tribes of Israel relied on historical accounts, oral traditions, and archaeological assumptions. But what if the answer to this mystery isn't just hidden in ancient documents, but within us? With advancements in science, genetics has become a powerful tool for tracing origins and lineages, and some recent discoveries are challenging what we thought we knew about the fate of the lost tribes. Researchers have begun analyzing DNA from diverse populations around the world and have uncovered surprising evidence of Semitic ancestry in unexpected places. Groups in Africa, Asia, and even parts of Europe display genetic markers that suggest a possible connection to the ancient Israelites. These findings open new possibilities. Could the descendants of the 10 lost tribes still exist, scattered across the world, unaware of their true heritage? One of the most remarkable examples is the Lemba people of southern Africa. This tribe, found in Zimbabwe and Mozambique, has maintained traditions for centuries that closely resemble Judaism. They follow strict dietary laws, practice circumcision, and even carry an oral tradition stating that their ancestors came from a distant land called Sennaar, a name that some scholars associate with Sennaar, mentioned in the Bible as a place of Israelite exile. The real shock came with genetic testing. Studies revealed that many Lemba men carry a Y chromosome marker characteristic of the Jewish priestly lineage of Aaron, known as the Cohen genetic marker. Another fascinating case comes from India, where a group called Bnei Menashe claims descent from the tribe of Manasseh. For centuries, this community has preserved ancient Jewish customs, including prayers that reference the crossing of the Red Sea and a strict observance of the Sabbath. When DNA tests were conducted, the results showed genetic traits shared between the Bnei Menashe and traditional Jewish populations, reinforcing the hypothesis that they could indeed be descendants of a lost tribe. But the discoveries don't stop there. In parts of China, communities known as the Kaifeng Jews also exhibit signs of possible Israelite ancestry. Although they have assimilated into Chinese culture over centuries, historical records indicate that their ancestors were recognized as descendants of Jews, possibly linked to the northern tribes. If genetic evidence is revealing unexpected connections between distant peoples and ancient Israelites, what else could still be hidden? DNA can not only confirm lineages, but also trace migration routes, showing how the lost tribes may have spread across the world. Some researchers suggest that over the centuries, these communities integrated into new civilizations, influencing local cultures while still retaining traces of their genetic identity. The big question now is, if these genetic connections are real, what does this mean for the history of Israel? Could it be that unknowingly millions of people around the world carry within them the heritage of the lost tribes? And more importantly, if these tribes never truly disappeared, but were merely dispersed, what could that mean for the future? Science and faith, often seen as opposites, seem to be converging toward the same answer. The secrets of the past can be uncovered when we use new tools to examine the present. DNA doesn't just tell a biological story, it can confirm ancient narratives that have been forgotten for millennia. If genetic evidence truly points to the existence of living descendants of the 10 lost tribes, then the mystery may be closer to being solved than we ever imagined. But if the lost tribes still exist, what does this mean for the modern world? Could their rediscovery impact national identities, religious beliefs, and even international politics? If the 10 lost tribes of Israel truly survived and spread across the world, the impact of their existence extends far beyond archaeology and genetics. The possibility of their descendants still living today raises profound questions about identity, religion, and even politics. After all, if millions of people unknowingly carry the heritage of these tribes, what does that mean for modern history? And how could this revelation change the way we view entire nations? A people's identity is not defined by DNA alone. Traditions, beliefs, and customs are passed down through generations, often without people knowing their true origins. If the lost tribes integrated into different civilizations, it is possible that their influence still lingers in unexpected places. Some cultures in the Middle East, Asia, and even Europe maintain practices that resemble ancient Israelite traditions. Is this just coincidence? Or could it be a hidden heritage that has survived the centuries? But the impact of the lost tribes goes beyond customs and traditions. Their possible rediscovery could have profound religious implications. In Judaism, there is an ancient prophecy that speaks of the gathering of the scattered tribes in the last days. If it were proven that certain modern populations descend from these tribes, it could reshape perspectives on the restoration of Israel and even the fulfillment of biblical prophecies. Additionally, there is a delicate political aspect to consider. The national identity of Israel, as well as other nations, could be affected by the idea that direct descendants of the lost tribes exist worldwide. This could influence citizenship claims, historical rights, and even debates about who truly belongs to the people of Israel. If groups such as the Bnei Menashe, the Lemba, and others could prove their Israelite lineage, how would that affect their relationship with the State of Israel? Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of all is the influence of the lost tribes on the development of modern civilizations. Some theories suggest that groups carrying their heritage may have played a role in shaping empires and spreading certain cultural values. Could aspects of Western monotheistic ethics have roots in the exiled tribes? Could traditions that we now consider to be part of Western civilization actually originate from a people long thought to have disappeared? One thing is clear: the search for the 10 lost tribes of Israel is far from over. New research continues to emerge, combining history, archaeology, and science to unravel this ancient mystery. But perhaps the answer has already been among us all along. Maybe the tribes were never truly lost, only forgotten. And what if some of the people walking among us today are, without knowing it, the direct descendants of these tribes? If history wasn't lost, but instead erased by time, are we truly prepared to rediscover it? The story of the 10 lost tribes of Israel is one of the greatest mysteries in human history. For centuries, it was believed that they had vanished, erased by the power of empires and the relentless passage of time. But the evidence suggests otherwise. Historical records, archaeological discoveries, and even genetic advancements indicate that their legacy may have survived in ways we never imagined. If these tribes were never truly destroyed, then where are they today? Could some of the people living among us unknowingly carry this ancient heritage? From the division of the kingdom to the Assyrian conquest, the fate of the tribes was marked by tragedy and dispersion. Some may have been absorbed into other cultures, losing their original identity. Others may have preserved fragments of their heritage in unexpected places. Peoples in Africa, Asia, and even Europe maintain traditions and genetic traits that could be linked to the ancient Israelites. But this search isn't just about the past, it's about the present and the future as well. If the lost tribes still exist, it could change the way we understand history. Discovering their existence could impact not only religious beliefs, but also the identity of entire nations. Some prophecies speak of the gathering of these tribes in the last days. Could it be that this gathering is already happening, quietly and subtly, through the rediscovery of their heritage? This mystery teaches us that history is far more complex than we imagine. Often, what we believe to be lost is simply hidden in plain sight. The modern world may be filled with descendants of the 10 tribes without them even knowing it. Science and faith, long seen as opposites, may actually be converging to uncover secrets that have been buried for millennia. And now, the big question: are we still ignoring hidden truths in the Bible? If the tribes of Israel never truly disappeared, what other lost stories are waiting to be rediscovered? Could part of this heritage live within us, without us realizing it? If this video opened your eyes to something new, share it with someone who needs to hear this story. Comment below what surprised you the most and what you think happened to the 10 lost tribes. And of course, if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more stories like this. The past may have been forgotten, but perhaps it's time to rediscover it.